my career is actually law, but I never wanted to be an attorney. My parents wanted me to be an attorney. I wanted to be free. So that's why I picked tourism over 30 years ago. And I got involved with one of the pioneers in my country that started around 1988, I'll say, with tourism and the cruises. And that's when I got started, very young. And ever since, it's in my blood. I can feel and really be passionate about not only tourism, but the cruise business in particular. And gradually I grew up in the business as a tour guide, then as a spokesman for the company, and then I continue being a supervisor, and then quality control manager, and so on, until I became the director for the cruise department. And unfortunately, life is too short, and the owner passed, and I decided to establish my own business, which is called Travelia Services, like Expedia. I figure Travelia, and that's how I came up with the name Travelia Services. And now we cater not only as a tour operator, but also as a port agent. And we're doing another department, not only the cruise business now, but we've grown in 6 years to a point where now we have incentives and FITs, which is individual traveling and families and groups of special interest. And also, like I said before, port agents. So this is what we do. And I can't stop doing it. I could retire basically anytime, but I would not leave it until I'm not able to walk anymore, and especially walk on the floor at the different conferences, whether it's Sea Trade, MET, or Sea Trade Europe, or Sea Trade in the USA. But I attend all of the conferences, and perhaps someday I will go to Sea Trade Asia. I'm thinking about it. So this is a little bit of my background and what I do. I think the networking, friendship, the adrenaline that is always rushing through my veins when I think about a cruise that's coming. Like just a couple of days back, I was in Costa Rica. I was actually sailing on the Mazdam, because the Mazdam from Holland America had a maiden call in a new port in Costa Rica, in the South Pacific area of Costa Rica, that's called Golfito. And our company and myself, we were given the opportunity to do the entire operation for Holland America. So to me, this is so important that I could not leave it to someone else. I had to do it myself. I went to Colombia, I went on the ship across the Panama Canal to be on the ship making the maiden call in Golfito. So it was a great success, a great call, and this is part of what keeps me going, the adrenaline of the new things, the new builds, joining the edge. I just came out of the Bliss and drove the F1 Formula on the upper decks, and so it's always the constant evolution of the industry. I got to see the first ships that were like barely 900 or 1,000 passengers, and I thought that was a big ship. Now I see those next to the Oasis of the Seas, and I wonder, what is the tender doing next to the Oasis when it's actually one of the first ships that I got to see years ago? So that's part of what keeps me going, besides having a lot of friends in the industry from all over the world. So I have friends that are port agents and tour operators from China to Canada, New Zealand to Morocco, which I'm visiting next after the show in Lisbon. I'm going to see some good friends for a couple of weeks in Morocco. So all of that keeps it going. It's exciting to be able to help the communities and my country. I'm a patriot of my country, Costa Rica, and by being in the industry and participating in all of these trade shows, I'm able to reach out to the executives that make the decisions to bring the ships, change the itineraries, and bring them not only to Costa Rica, but to my region of the world. And I feel that this is how I impact in a positive way the economy of Costa Rica, and I benefit a lot of people because this is what gives a lot of families an income. So that alone is a great reason to be doing this for as long as I can. The events is where all the actors get together. So although I could travel and see Aida in Rostock, or I could go to, Naples and see MSC or Geneva or anywhere in the world, that would be more costly. But by attending and being at the shows, I get all of them together. I get all of my friends together. This is like a family reunion once or twice a year. So that impacts my day-to-day because I'm always looking forward to what's next. And I do plan, for instance, coming to Lisbon, but then I'm already thinking about the next show and, what can I do now, aiming at the future show to set up schedules and meetings and all of that. Or any particular projects or plans that I have, I can launch them in Lisbon and then follow up on the next conference and so on and so on. So it's I can't see a day go by without thinking about cruise lines, about the destinations, and about Sea Trade or UBM and all of what's next. So there's so many different stories that, from seeing back in the late 1980s, 88, 89, a ship coming to port after a fire, and everyone's sleeping on the upper decks because the ship caught fire out in sea and came back, to the one time I was standing on the pier, and because I've done it so many times, I know the maneuvers that the ship has to do to come and dock and, tide and everything. And I saw the ship coming straight like the movie, what is it, Speed? And I see the ship coming towards the pier, and it keeps coming, and it keeps coming, it keeps coming, to a point where I say, he's not gonna stop nor go sideways. So I yelled, everyone out of the pier, and we did run out of the pier, and sure enough, bow, just like head-on collision, boom, and we felt how the pier, was shaken by the ship, and of course, that stopped it, and not just for that day, but for a couple of days while they fixed it. So that's just one of the many stories. Okay, if I had to advise someone, first thing I will ask them to be honest with themselves. Is this something that really runs in your veins? Is this really something that you feel passion for? Because if you're not passionate about this, you better don't get involved in the cruise business at all. You have to be passionate about it, you have to love it, you have to live it, you have to really feel like this is your life. So my first piece of advice would be that, because being in the industry, it also means sacrificing your birthday, your kids' birthdays, Christmas. There's not a day or a time of the year where, if we have a ship calling, we have to be there. Whether you're a port agent or a tour operator or you're involved in any capacity in the cruise business, there's no oh yeah, later. No, you have to be proactive, you have to be there, and you have to deliver. So if you believe in this and you are passionate about it, get in. If not, try something else, like being an attorney, which I'm not.